Someone has said that we have more connectivity today than ever before in history, but very little intimacy. I think that's true. I think technology is beginning to take over us. I mean, it always was a fear, when they introduced the automobile and started to become commonplace for some people. It was a disruptor, and we had other disruptors, and with technology inventing things for us and making our lives more convenient. And there's always the fact that sometimes technology helps us live longer, provides us with vaccines, MRIs, and all this that we could benefit from. I seen a meme recently, and see if I can get it right. There was a man standing, a cartoon man, he was standing at a phone, and had the cord, and he said, we have more freedom now when phones were wired to the wall, but now we have phones with this, I forget the exact, it was way more cleverly said. But it is true, with mobile phones, we don't have the same freedom. I find that I feel like I have to carry it from room to room in a house, everywhere I go, just in case somebody calls. When there was a time, you didn't hear the phone, you didn't pick it up, and they said, hey, let's invent answering services and answering machines. And if you weren't home, you just saw it, you just heard it actually later on. So I myself personally miss those days. I miss the days, I grew up in those times, and so did you probably if you were growing up in the 70s and even into the 80s or earlier, where technology was still under our thumb and not vice versa. We if we wanted to listen to music, we didn't have to have billionaires tracking our motions and people knowing everything about us and where we're going to be. Or we just went out and we bought a record, or a cassette tape, even an 8-track, flipped it in the player and you were good to go. And all those things were tactile things. They were things that we could hold and touch. And I kind of miss those days because I think we're never going to go back to that. I do appreciate the fact that a lot of younger people today are getting back into 35 millimeter photography. They're trying things like their own record collection, and there's some appeal to it, and they know there's something human about being able to touch technology instead of it basically owning us. Myself, I worked in a CD DVD store for it was just about 8 years, almost 8 years, and eventually of course it closed down, like most stores that dealt with selling CDs and DVDs. But I do remember some fantastic times, and I still remember waking up in the morning. Sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and I just think about those times, those days. Yes, sometimes it was too much, having so many people come at you and ask you things, and you had to go find things, but there was something about it. Generally, people knew why they were there. They were there for their favorite artist, their favorite movie, their favorite musician. And everyone could talk about those things. We met, in the flesh, and we talked in the flesh about our favorite bands, songs, maybe stuff we didn't like. Yeah, so this is just a quick one of me reminiscing, and as you probably do too. And I do miss those days. I think they kind of pretty much started to die off in the late 90s. And people don't really generally collect movies anymore on DVD or CDs, and I know that there are issues with those technologies, but most people are just happy to hear a song, by itself on some streaming device, or to watch their show, which, the streaming companies, they have every right to just to chop up what you're going to see, to edit it, to even censor it. Now I know Sometimes I was watching last night a really old movie from the 60s. It was just, oh, it's just a, you know, just an old movie that wasn't of any high quality or anything. But of course they had a, I can't even mention it on YouTube, but they had to censor a picture, and you could see this sort of pixelated picture of a woman who was in a particular state of, well, post-death. I guess that's all we'll say here. But if you use your imagination, know what it is, because we live in a time, understandably, where those scenes could basically trigger someone. It could cause something awful to happen. You know, I mean, you know, you could say we're too sensitive, but maybe back then we weren't sensitive enough. But still, you see, you can't see it because it's being censored by someone else in a bigger, larger group. But I do enjoy being able to collect movies, music, you know, on DVD still, if you get them before they have been changed by the major corporations that are buying everything out. You know, the different franchises, I won't get into mentioning them, but, you know, just billionaires, you know, buying these franchises that at one time were part of, you know, something we all went to the theater and saw, and we experienced it as a group, as a community. And then later on we could go into, and I do realize people can make good money off physical media back then. But this little video, it's just a short one to say, I do miss those days. I do like the convenience sometimes, but I do believe that we're going to go into an era so different that pretty soon, when you're on different platforms, you're really not going to know whether you're talking to an AI bot or a real human being. And they're not going to know either. There's going to be some other version of you out there that's artificial intelligence. And they're going to do all our FaceTiming for us, and we're not even going to have to face people. And yeah, I know there's benefits to that, but there's also, I guess, I think we're losing something. What do you guys think? Got any ideas on that? Any opinions? Is it better now, or was it better then?